This is 89.7 KRUI. Thank you all for joining us tonight for our second episode of Hit Dice, a tabletop role-playing podcast where DMs, GMs, and players alike sit around and play Dungeons and Dragons. My name is Ethan Spires. I will be your host for the show and game master for this evening. Let's get to meeting the rest of our cast for the evening.
I'm Elisabeth Oster, playing Yola Earthfingers, a halfling bard.
I am Althaus, playing Loral Lohan, a half-elf sorcerer.
My name is Maxfield Coenen, and I'm playing Shane Olver, a half-elf warlock.
My name is Alex Lenaers, and I'm playing Damian Toiracsi, a high-elf rogue.
Perfect. Now that we have all our introductions out of the way, let's hop right back into it here. The whole purpose for this show is to put a spotlight on what it looks like for a group of friends to sit around a table and just play Dungeons and Dragons. So without further ado, let's hit the recap. When last we left off, our merry band of individuals had just come back from a contract of investigating a eastern watchtower not too far out from the outer wall of the city of Ledorum, the old capital of the great Kadari Empire. Upon returning into the city, you had met with Amanda Knight, a practitioner of the arcane, a companion of yours. And upon presenting the few artifacts that you did find involving the old Forgotten Empire, she had offered to give you a tour of one of the three massive artifact depots of the city. As upon arriving, you met one of the head members of the research team there in the warehouse, a dragonborn individual known as Gund Jarok. You were then offered, through portions of conversation, another possible contract, that of investigation. There has been a artifact that has gone missing, and it is suspect that one of the employees of the warehouse had stolen it. Now, upon conversing with both Amanda and Jarok, it's less of finding this artifact directly, at least from Amanda's point of view, more of trying to figure out who did this, why they did this, and more importantly, how they did this. So, jumping right back into it here, we had just had a few of you roll some investigation checks, and we were giving you some information kind of quick at the end of our last episode. So we're just going to kind of revamp that knowledge into your heads now. So, looking at the space in which the artifact had been missing, areas around the spot in which it was on the shelf are almost too clean. Looking down kind of across the portion of the shelf as well, underneath of it, same type of situation. Too clean around the artifacts that are there. Loral and Damian, you two are the ones that kind of are spearheading that. I'm sorry. It was Shane and Damian who were spearheading that. You guys have started to put those pieces together then. And Loral and Yola were actually just kind of off investigating on their own. So with that, Yola, we actually go to you. You are kind of just lost in portion of the massive stacks of shelves that are just filled with a plethora of artifacts and baubles, bits, and trinkets, things like that. Is there anything that Yola would keep her eye out for?
I guess I probably don't have that much eye level. Am I mainly stuck to one shelf?
You get the solid, like one shelf, maybe one underneath that has some larger boxes and crates, things like that.
Okay. I feel I look out for suspicious books or something that doesn't look like it fits in.
Gotcha. All right. As you are kind of searching over the portions of the shelf underneath, kind of moving a crate to the side and kind of you feel it bump into something and something just kind of teeter back and forth until it seems to place itself back. And you hear this deep kind of gravelly voice behind you. Little one, are you... and you see, as you turn around, this taller human male, kind of darker skin, kind of finer clothing, nothing too fancy per se, but kind of like the equivalent of just like a button-down type of situation. And he's kind of looking over his shoulder and kind of looking around a little, I wouldn't say worried per se. Go ahead and make an insight check for me.
Okay. That would be a 13.
13 total. Okay. You're, again, able to discern it's less of an alarm of, like you're not supposed to be here, but more of he's looking for someone else in the area. And he then turns back to you. Did you come in here alone? Who are you? Are your parents around? Did you bring,
I'm giving a tour. I'm getting a tour. Yeah.
Oh, and you see it for a moment. It clicks for him. He realizes that, he may have messed up big time. So he starts to take a few steps back. I am so... his face is beet red. Just, you could tell he is incredibly embarrassed. He actually ends up bumping into one of the stacks behind him, and one of the pieces just kind of falls onto the ground. It looks to be some sort of utensil of sorts. And he's like, I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. Is there anything I can help you find? You said you were on a tour. What are you? And you just see he just kind of is, as you are responding in silence, he's just like slowly just crumbling away into himself. What do you do?
I feel like I want to know more. What is your connection?
Well, I work here. I man portions of the shelves. I help many of the researchers. I'm more of a gatherer and cataloger of sorts.
Is there anything of note that you could show me?
Our finer artifacts? Is that what you refer to? Well, yes, of course, come. And he turns, now seemingly getting back into the rhythm of things and like finding something he can, is like, all right, come on. So he turns around and kind of leads you down portion of the rest of the stack there. While he is leading you away, we hop over then to Damian and Shane. So this investigation kind of slowly kind of leads you past... and back towards the center, as we kind of discussed last time. This path of too clean, too undisturbed type of things. Just minor things here and there.
Essentially, by what you mean of too clean is like there's dust on the areas around this thing, but like a thing has been scrubbed clean to sort of like get rid of any imprint in the area.
Yeah, less of like there's no like if you grabbed a bowl off of a dusty shelf, there's no circle. It's just kind of like gone. Like there's the dust kind of has just dissipated from that space.
So like there's just a little section.
Exactly.
And you said that continued through to the floor as well?
You with a high enough roll, you guys had found kind of splotches of it throughout other portions of the stack, portions of the floor that are closer to the shelves, things like that. And they kind of bounce back and forth, but they lead closer towards the center, that main kind of almost like courtyard-ish type feel within this warehouse of these massive desks, lab workstations, and then those few sand pits that are that you had been told been used for testing. Which, as you kind of come around the corner, you notice the individual who had the massive jug in the in space beforehand. That was So Jirok has placed his hand on one of the larger gems that are on one of the massive steel poles that seem to encase this area with magic. And as he does so, the water begins to kind of swirl around the steward's feet, and they kind of sinks into the sand underneath of them. And you notice then Jirok, as he takes his hand off of the stone itself, and he just storms into the sand pit, just glaring at this guy. And as he does so, you just kind of hear him muttering under his breath, "What were you thinking?" And as soon as he steps into this space, the kind of hunched over form, the kind of dulled maroon, kind of almost brown colored scales, immediately everything shifts. It's you see the belt around his waist almost seems to glow kind of gold, and his muscles almost ripple through the clothing he has as he like grows almost double in size. Muscle, just a huge muscled form that grabs this guy by the shirt and holds him up into the air and is looking him dead in the eyes. The kid is terrified. He's, I'm sorry, sir. It won't happen again. And you just hear the voice again, kind of rumbling, filling this space. Be sure that it does not. Again, this is all in Draconic, but Shane being able to understand this, we'll just skip over the fake word part. With that, as you kind of looking around the space, we're going to hit our first break.
Hi again. My name is Alex Lenaers, and you're listening to an archived episode of Hit Dice, a live D&D actual play show. If you're enjoying it so far, consider following us online and tuning in live on krui.fm. You can check our socials for our current broadcast schedule, as well as our archive schedule. Thanks. Let me send you back to the show.
All right. And we're back. So as tensions kind of begin to settle, Jirok places this kid back down onto the ground and storms out of the sandpit. And as he does, immediately as he enters the anti-magic area of the warehouse, reverts back in size. And the cloths and tunic kind of just begin to wrap around him once again.
So I'll sort of mosey my way forward over to Jirok and just begin talking in Draconic.
Sure.
So, is there a list of those who would have been on shift the previous night? And sort of, if they are assigned to any sort of duties in the area, or if there's a sort of check-in, if we could potentially get a list of time slips, if such a thing exists.
Yes.
Sort of checks-ins, checks-outs, in case someone missed a checkout. Don't want wage theft going on. That's a joke.
He turns over. You see, as he literally before you are finished, with your request, he's already walking in a direction, kind of just you following him as you're talking to him. Mm-hmm. He stops for a moment, turns and looks over his shoulder slightly at you, and just. And then he continues to walk forward.
Oh, I got a laugh out of him.
I don't know if it was. I mean, was it a grunt?
It was an exhale. I got an exhale. I'll take it as a win.
Regardless, as he begins to walk into further, he just kind of he's facing forward, but he's talking to you, and you're a little bit behind him. And he just speaks out in Draconic still. Not many speak the tongue. Where have you learned?
Oh. Great question. A good 6 months of my study was focused on languages and linguistic arcs of various different dialects. I speak it on a rudimentary level, not necessarily fluent, but
I see.
My best. Various universities through the area.
He kind of continues to lead you towards that front entrance. As he does so, Damian and Loral, I'll have you guys make a second investigation check here real quick, as you guys are just kind of still in that space.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna help.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you're going to help me?
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
beautiful.
So you're going to take the alpha action, so you're just going to give advantage to Alex instead of making your own check.
So I'm going to roll twice.
Yes,
And good
take
thing
the
I
higher.
did. I rolled an 18 and a 3. I'm going to take the higher, which is an 18 plus 7.
Okay.
Sell of investigation.
Yeah.
For a grand total of 25.
Okay. Loral, I'll say out of curiosity more than anything, the
investigated.
courtyard kind of takes you
Up
takes
the
you in.
wazoo.
Like the sand pit?
Yeah.
area?
Well, I would assume. I guess I don't know. Where would you kind of begin?
I mean,
your
I think
focus?
the artifacts are just interesting in general. I'm probably looking around if I see any kind of like glass objects as well, and I'm
Gotcha.
looking
Yeah,
for.
yeah.
And I have a basic like arcane knowledge, so I'm just trying to see. I can look at items and maybe sense that they are or not. I guess. Just looking.
In a normal setting, most definitely. However, because you're in this space that
No
is
arcane.
dead, like magic is dead in this zone, it's a little difficult. But you could definitely look at different maybe runes that might be etched in things, or just if you find there are a couple of almost look like to be like shoe boxes that have like 3 or 4 wands in them. So obviously those are used in a magical sense.
Hopefully.
I would say there are a few things here that aren't identical to things you've seen before, but are definitely similar. And this portion is definitely like the just pieces of cookingware and dining sets. And the more you look at them, the more you're reminded of portions of your childhood, early childhood with your mother. With that, though, as you kind of have moved past the portion of the sand pit, it kind of has led Damian in that direction. Damian, you look over towards that kind of the sand pit area, and trying to piece everything and looking at everything as a whole. When he touched the stone, when Jirok touched the stone, and the water just kind of began to swirl and sink, it didn't just magically disappear. You can see there looks to be a set of smaller grates that are over the top of not on top of the sand, but like underneath the sand. And since the water kind of rushed through in that direction, you can see where those portions are. But anything else that you want to look closer at?
I think that gives me a good direction for now.
Okay, all right. So did you want to head over to those, or
Yeah,
Okay,
let's-
I got
let's-
you. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
All right. As you begin to step into that space, it's met with a couple of individuals who are sitting in the area who just kind of turn in your direction. Some of them begin to stand, but Amanda is there, and she kind of just literally just kind of waves a hand in their direction, and they go back to their work. You notice Amanda just kind of is looking in your direction, and now where she was definitely relaxed, there is a portion of intrigue where her arms are crossed. She's kind of leaning against a desk at this point, and she's looking at you intently. So with that, as you begin to investigate some of these grates, when you touch them in this space, you definitely feel there is just kind of a thick iron coldness to them. You handling few magical objects here and there can assume at this point this is not something that is necessarily magical in nature, but it definitely has been summoned by some means due to that stonework that Jirok had. With that, what do you do?
I don't know exactly where Damian's attention would immediately draw to. Would I be able to make some sort of check as to maybe try and filter to see what would be like an important aspect to focus on? Essentially, making you tell the story.
I would say, what you had, a 25 total?
25, yeah.
Okay.
So there's a lot of information happening.
There is.
Is there a way to focus
Kind
a
of
bit
focus
more?
it in.
Full
Yeah, I would
swirling
say-
math me.
Yeah.
I would say, yeah, I would say with a 25 for sure. I would say as time progresses, after a couple of minutes of investigating, you are able to kind of dig around, dig away portions of the sand that are still covering the edges of the grates. As you do, each one of them is about 3 feet across. There's about 4 of them that you can see in this space. Each one of them is about 8 to 10 feet away from each other. This pit is pretty big. I mean, it's a place to test unknown magical items. So who the heck knows what would happen? But yeah, these are, that's roughly in their size, and they are in a circular shape as well. You could probably fit your hand through portion of the grate. You haven't tried. But the thickness of it, you probably wouldn't make it much further past your forearm.
Interesting.
Am I by the pit?
Yeah, you're kind of helping around with this investigation as well. So as you kind of have finished up your reminiscing over the stacks, you kind of make your way over. You see Damian is kind of knelt down in the pit, looking over a grate.
Oh, that could have been an escape route. Do they look liftable? Like how heavy could I guess they'd be?
Should we give it a whirl?
Yeah, we each put a hand down and pull up a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, all right. So as soon as you grab onto the grate itself, the barrier around begins to kind of shimmer slightly. Shane, as you are about to make it to the front desk, you see Toiracsi look down at their wrist, and kind of right underneath their palm, kind of at their wrist, there is a bracelet that has a similar like teal green gem that just begins to pulse slightly. And you see him quickly look over his shoulder and just and turn back, and he begins to just storm back over in that direction.
Oh no.
Yola, at this point then too, coming back around kind of after this small tour, the gentleman kind of brings you back to that large courtyard space.
And this here is where all of the research is taking place directly. A lot of our experts work here, and this section here is quite interesting. It seems they're testing something now.
And you see they're pointing at both Damian and Loral. As you guys begin to lift the grate up, go ahead and make athletics checks. This one I'm going to have both of you make, please.
Yay.
Okay,
Super athletic over here. 7.
3.
That's average together. Together we're average.
We have the strength of one person.
You both begin to just kind of pull on the grate with as much might as you can muster. As you do, you feel it shift slightly, and then a little bit more. And it comes up about 2 or 3 inches, and then it slams down into the ground, almost kind of like wrenching you guys' like shoulders out of their sockets. Like it's just like almost like if
Is it magnetic?
it seems like something incredibly powerful in way of like magnet is holding this thing in place from below. But not impossible, you could say.
Well, I want to get you over here, Shane.
Because I am the strongest?
No, because you're the translator.
Toiracsi,
I mean, he's coming in, I know. I'm like getting ready.
At this point now, you see the shimmering blue of the barrier is broken by this bright red scale dragonborn who just comes in at both of you.
Shield. Out of pure panic, I'm like, this big old dragonborn's coming at me.
He begins to kind of just throw words at you in a language you do not understand, and just by the nature of the language itself, it is incredibly violent. Just and as he's breathing heavily, you see licks of flame begin to kind of sprout out from his nostrils and the side of his mouth. And his glaring yellow eyes are piercing both of you.
Is Shane here?
Shane is getting there. You see him in the distance, but he's not there yet.
Friend's coming. I need a translator. Just 1 second.
Shane, you are at the outside of this. At this point, you see this towering dragonborn looking down at these 2 individuals.
Oh, that's about right. Okay, here we go.
Hey, Shane, I need you to translate for me. I want you to ask him, what are the things that are holding the grates down? Are they magical in means?
Hey, Ethan.
Yeah.
What happens when I step into the
So you're stepping into the space? Because you can still hear them from outside of it, but it's up to you.
You know what? Yeah, let's hold off on going in there. until we can.
All right, yeah. So you're just hanging out right outside the barrier.
For the listeners who
peaceful and
missed
quiet
last
right now.
episode, something happened when Shane no longer had access to magic.
I would say Yola and Shane, then you guys are just kind of hanging out next to each other right outside the barrier. Okay.
Cool.
So you ask this question. Jirok, again, for the sake of brevity, we'll just kind of skip past the fun little translation portion.
If anything rambles with Luke, I will say it more succinctly to Jirok.
Turns back.
Not enchanted, magical, natural, magical. Great stones lie underneath.
Could their magic be interrupted?
Very difficult.
Well, I'm just thinking this could be a viable passageway for your individual to get out.
Greats cannot be summoned without my hand, without me. Impossible.
Nothing's impossible.
I was going to say impossible is a strong word.
So improbable would be more correct. You said it was quite difficult to remove the grates, but not impossible. Theoretically, it still can be done.
Yeah, I'm not strong. We got it up a few inches, I'm gonna be honest.
That's
but
true.
I'm just not
I'll
strong at
agree
all.
with
You
you.
look pretty strong. I'm kind of scared.
You see, he kind of turns.
I throw that part in, of course.
You see, he kind of turns, looks down at the grate, and then he just kind of repeats,
Greats cannot be summoned without me.
Oh, I see. So
Not
the
impossible
space,
to lift great.
but the
impossible.
space below only exists once you call it forward.
Correct.
Yeah. My theory just kind of went out the window.
Amanda steps up next to Yola and Shane, kind of just listening in. Says, well, Jirok, do you have any other suggestion? And he turns, kind of a little surprised that Amanda has made her way into the conversation and kind of takes a moment to breathe.
No.
Is there anyone else with the bracelet?
No.
No.
Is there ever a time when your bracelet was unattended within the past?
The bracelet is not what activates. I am magically bound to the stone.
That's kind of cool.
Neat.
Where do you get something like that? Or did you make it?
He just completely ignores your question.
Did you like make it yourself? You're very powerful with magic. Maybe you made it.
You, Amanda, so Yola, actually, Amanda kind of nudges you on the shoulder, and looks over at the grate and just kind of leans down towards you and whispers, the grates are only about 3 feet wide.
Okay. Okay. Wow. I think I could do something with that.
She kind of just takes a few steps back at that point and just begins to kind of just let everything unfold. What are you guys doing next with this information? With Jirok in his prime form, kind of.
Yeah, I almost want to move out of the circle so he's less powerful. So I feel like he could.
Yeah, what are you guys doing?
Is it at all possible, like, mind control or other such effects can start outside and continue inside? Or are they interrupted upon the threshold?
They're interrupted upon the threshold.
Has that been confirmed?
I tried. I maybe tried. Don't translate that. What? Don't worry. I'm a man of science.
Said the mage.
Well, didn't you try it with cantrip?
Yeah.
No, wait, you tried to mold the earth, and that got
Yeah, when
interrupted.
right when it cut.
I'm talking like mental effects. That was
I could try. Damian tries to send a message to Shane using the message spell.
Gotcha.
You're in the circle of work.
You are in the circle. You
In the circle,
send
but Shane is not.
a message out towards Shane.
Fair.
You notice that Damian looks in your direction, seems to move his lips, and
Licking them a little bit.
of course,
Radio science.
nothing. Cool.
Damian coughs a bit as he stares at you.
Are you trying to suggest that Goon Durak was under mental controls?
Potentially, as sort of a
I think he's a pretty powerful magic user. I don't think he's gonna get I'm gonna be honest.
anyone can get tripped up in the right situation.
I guess.
what are you guys
Are
doing?
we conveying?
Oh, what are you doing?
We conveying that to the
Can
big
I
scary.
You try and
investigate the
Sure.
Could
take
I?
him over.
You want to hop on?
Yeah.
All right, so you hop
Yeah.
on over and you take a look. The size itself, it's 3 feet across. You guys, most of you could probably fit in. You could squeeze in, probably. It's comfortable for you, though. You could probably just kind of hop in.
Roomy. Yeah. Home.
Yeah. But someone like Durak's size could definitely not.
Makes sense.
So, with that before you, you had a couple of suggestions, a couple of options. What are you thinking?
Would I be able to potentially, I don't know, maybe try and divert the wonderful Dragonborn's attention away from this grate while
I could.
our fantastic person Earthfingers does a little.
Yola.
Don't know my name.
No, I know your name.
I'm fantastic, but you don't know my name.
I know your name. I was trying to use the last name because the last name is fantastic. Earthfingers. As the Earthfingers fingers their way into the earth.
I didn't like that.
Interesting.
Just digging into
The little pop up on the heads up display. Everyone disliked that.
This has gotten entirely out of hand. All I want to do is say something
Yes.
to get the
I see
Dragonborn's attention away so Yola can go into the grate.
What are you saying?
I'm going to say, that grate ain't nothing. Me? Look at me.
He
I can get in the grate.
He turns over towards you and notices you're speaking to him, and an eyebrow kind of gets arched, and you just keep going.
Yeah.
Make a charisma check for me. Why don't you? We'll do against Durak here.
I have to wonder what my general charisma is. Oh, wonderful. All right. It's a 17.
Okay, all right. You see as he kind of rolls his eyes, kind of the yellow glow just kind of, he rolls his eyes,
Can't
turns away,
understand
and just kind of looks over to
understand
you.
him at all.
The grate again, and kind of the group. But you just keep talking.
Don't
And
roll
as-
those yellow eyes away from me.
And kind of with
talking.
that tone, he kind of like just turns back and is like
I'm gonna wisp.
enthralled. He's like, and just in like, first off, what are you saying? Second off, you are talking to me in such a tone that he's probably never really heard before, at least in a long time. So he's kind of turned completely in your direction, and you see he has both of his muscled arms tightly crossed across his chest.
Inside of Damian's cloak just shivers, just shaking to his boots.
I didn't think
With that, as he's turned away, what are you guys doing?
Let's lift and get her under. Quick.
Yeah, I'm sneaking on over.
I grab.
Okay, you grab.
Oh wait,
you're
he
done?
gets beeped.
But I'm distracting him.
Go like throw plates around or something.
I'm just gonna break all your stuff.
There's just plates out there, man.
Eye contact.
Here we go.
course.
I'm gonna step in.
All right.
Okay.
You step in. From having nothing in the back of your mind, it seems as though everything is being said and felt, and the feeling in which you've truly experienced once happens again.
Oh no.
You guys notice as soon as Shane breaches the barrier, he drops to his knees, hands over his ears, and he his mouth is open and he seems to be screaming, but there is no sound. After about 2 seconds, Shane, you open your eyes. You're knelt down in the sand. You look at the rest of the group and everyone else in this space, and they are all staring at you.
Ow.
In your right hand,
Oh no.
right in the sandbag, you see the sharded form of this long sword. Actually, would you mind describing in detail the sword that is now unsheathed for the first time in this space?
Yeah, so the sword that has appeared in Shane's hand looks like the gnarliest collection of bismuth crystals as they have formed into this blade. Fractals and jagged and truly looks gnarly and would be a bad time if you got cut with it. It like, just due to the nature of it, it looks almost serrated. And the hilt itself, now that you've fully seen it, also looks like those bismuth crystals as they extend out, and as well as from the pommel. And they are a dark gray, but in certain lights they show almost the rainbow that bismuth crystals can be known for.
Wonderful. It was within a blink, at least for Yola and Damian. Loral, however, as soon as you grab onto the grate and you look over at Shane and beckon him in, as soon as he enters that space, time just moves slightly slower. And you see him basically in slow motion, morally, mentally, drained and crushed, brought to his knees, and you see from thin air this thin line of piercing ice blue energy that forms kind of at the center of this blade, and then the crystals almost seem to like crawl out or just protrude out from this light and create the blade. And he remains. For a moment, everyone is silent. Jirok pays no more mind to you, Damian.
Understandable.
Turns directly over to Shane and begins to walk over. Not out of anger, which we've only seen him move in so far, but emotionless, and begins to just kind of step over you. He holds out a hand, offers you a hand up. Shane.
Am I able to dismiss the sword?
As soon as you will it happens. The shards kind of fade away, and the sword is gone.
Then I'll take my right hand and pull myself up.
Perfect. As they look kind of around, Jirok kind of looks into the space and just kind of nods, looks over at Amanda, who also nods and seems to just kind of gesture back towards the grate, who then, Jirok looking over, sees Yola and Loral there, both waving.
Casual.
Before we enter this next segment, we're going to hit our second break.
Hi, Alex again. We as a show are lucky enough to have the support and facilities of KRUI 89.7, a student-ran radio station based in Iowa City. Check the station out on krui.fm and on the airwaves. And thank you, listeners, very much for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of the episode.
And welcome back. After a sigh, the massive red dragonborn walks slowly over to the grate, placing both hands around portions of it. We'll see.
He has to make big boy check.
I'm assuming he has a strength score of about 26.
Or maybe Storm Giant.
I mean,
He begins to lift slowly, and even with advantage for the first attempt here, he begins to pull it upward, and it moves itself back into place. He takes a moment, he looks around, and you see him start to breathe heavier and heavier. He is embarrassed. This is not good for him. Yeah. And with that, he... and you see the muscles ripple across underneath the scales. Some of the scales you even seem to see almost separate due to the strain that he's putting on himself. He lifts it inches, 1 foot, 2 foot, till finally it's almost above his head, and you just hear him cry out. And as he does so, flame shoots out of his mouth into the air.
That's a sort of get in, I imagine.
Yeah. Get in. All right.
Clamber on down.
You are all able to squeeze on in and hop down, and immediately, Yola, as you hop on in with your bagpipes, the final sound that is heard is this ringing clang as you look up, and he just lets go of the grate, and it slams down on top. Those of you who entered, all of you, as you fall a little bit, it's about 8-foot drop. Go ahead and make acrobatics checks, please.
could I use mold earth as I'm about to hit the ground and try to kind of like almost liquefy it for a 5-foot cube
I see what you're trying to do.
5-foot cube, however many people I can catch, try to liquefy it a little bit.
You could choose someone. It's your call.
Who's closest to me? I guess
It's
here.
you or
I'll
it
do
would
it
be-
the old D&D way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You.
Okay.
Shane.
All right, Shane. You get an add additional 2 then. Go ahead and add an additional 2 to your acrobatics.
Okay.
Okay.
8.
We'll go around the table here. Yola?
That's a 5.
5.
Should I no? Just 17 then.
Just 17.
8.
8 total.
16.
16. All right.
Good thing I helped.
5 and 8. You guys fall and just kind of unexpectedly just fall this 8 feet. Doing your best to try to navigate, you both kind of just hit the ground, and you hit the ground hard. You kind of splash into where this water has kind of coalesced here. You both take 1 point of bludgeoning damage from that fall.
Ouchie.
Go ahead and deduct that here. Looking around in this space, I'm going to have Damian and Yola go ahead and make either... you can make a history check, or you can make a wisdom check.
Ooh. Okay.
Damian?
Suspense. 13.
13.
That is a 22.
22.
Dang. She wise.
You take a moment looking around in this space. It's not identical to a space you've encountered before, but the design catches you. And looking around, this is definitely something that it most definitely is connected to the main sewer system of the entire city. Due to all sorts of shenanigans that you may have pulled in your youth.
On the streets.
This is not an
belongs to the
unfamiliar place to you.
The streets and
especially
the
now-
sewers.
well, yes, both.
See, I imagine
What
like
is
a
a
young,
sewer but
I
a
imagine like a
stanky
young
street?
halfling with like a cup, and she's like playing the bagpipes on the street, just sadly.
I don't know. Is that far off?
Scotland the Brave.
Probably not.
Wherever this has connected from, it is something that just connects to the main sewer portion of this entire city. You are left in the wet, in the dark. The stench is abominable. It is terrible. But
Thank you.
you may have made another step closer to finding what you're looking for. What's your plan? What are you doing?
Now that we're down here, is there any sort of indication we can see as a sort of like impact zone?
Not necessarily impact zone wise, I would say. It's very difficult to tell. I guess who here has dark vision, if any of you?
I would.
You have
You do.
I'm a high elf, yes.
All right, so Yola,
halfling
you
might be-
are
Do you have-
the
you
only one.
I don't think so, actually.
I'll double check there.
Remembering.
See if it says.
Where
It would be in features and traits.
Regardless, even for
no.
those with dark vision, it is still difficult to see down here.
What pertains difficult, if you will? Difficult as in...
You can see the outline of where the wall meets the water. You can see a few rodents, at least the shapes of them. Making out details is difficult. You can see the profiles of everyone here, but you can't make out kind of like color and distinct feature type of things.
I'm gonna hold up my hammer and cast green flame blade on my hammer.
Okay.
And
Can we... would we need to retcon going to grab our weapons before going down the sewers?
oh yeah,
That's a good point.
I don't have a weapon.
You guys do not have your weapons.
Shane is the only one with the weapon.
I take back the fact that I pulled out my hammer.
Okay.
Sometimes I wish I didn't remember so many things.
That's fair.
Without weapons in hand, with merely a bagpipe and a bismuth sword, you are left to the sewers.
Damian is a good 30 pounds lighter right now. I don't have anything.
I'm gonna cast green flame blade on
can I
his.
use like echolocation with my bang? I don't know.
You start to play.
that.
Do you want to make a performance check for me, though?
Sure.
I do actually have a lantern.
That'll work.
I'd like to see Ethan turn bagpipe echolocation into a stat roll. Like what?
It's performance check.
15?
Performance?
15?
Yeah.
Okay. You just begin to play. The low kind of mourning sound of the bagpipes to begin with, then greeted with the high-pitched noise as you begin to hear it echo further and further and further down. You're not able to necessarily locate much, but you are able to, I will say, it is quite long. Yeah. It is kind of, it moves down, I mean, definitely a few hundred feet, and you would assume in a single direction at least. You would hear slight movements then. Rustling. Not of that of the few rodents that are already present, but things that may be moving slightly closer. As green flame blade lights up the bismuth sword, creating a kind of this bright coloration to the walls, and with Damian starting up his lantern, putting it outward, doesn't give you much light. I would say about 10 feet between the both of you. I guess the lantern probably has its own stats, but so we'll call it 15. We'll call it 15 for now in this space. It's that strange calm where you can feel that something is beyond the light, just out of sight.
Actually, it's a 30-foot radius. So. Oof. But if we're in a difficult situation,
It's a very dark
No,
sewer.
that's fine. That's fine. We'll just have the guys move back a little bit.
I had to retcon my hammer.
They would stay just out of sight. So there is something beyond the light that you have present. You do not know what it is, but something's there
So I am able to cast though.
in this space.
Yeah?
You cast Green Flame Blade.
Okay, cool. Good to know. Otherwise, I'm useless.
What are you doing?
I guess we venture on, don't we?
I mean, I think there's something close to us.
I mean, what choices do we have?
Can I use like my mage hand and like
Start smashing.
Yeah.
Splash the water.
I say why not? Interesting. Go ahead. I'll have you go ahead and make a perception check for me.
Okay.
We'll just have we'll have, as you've cast Mage Hand, this spectral kind of violet red colored energy creates this hand that just begins to wander around, begins to kind of feel around the space. What'd you get?
23.
23. Okay. You see as it coasts along portions of the wall up towards the ceiling in this tunnel space, and across the water towards the edge of the light. It begins to kind of scrape across the top of the water, leaving trails behind. Until suddenly a violent burst as this massive form just comes up, jaws encasing this spectral hand, and this coiling form behind it begins to just shoot outward towards your direction as you see a very large serpent-like creature has now been disturbed, or at least is now on the attack, and begins to almost skate across the water in your direction, fangs out, and it just plunges deep underneath the water, about 10 feet away from you.
How deep is the water?
Not deep.
Oh, it's a smaller snake. How?
No,
It's a large snake.
I mean, I guess, yeah.
It can.
That's fair.
The water goes up to about
snakes
your guys'
don't
thigh.
need water to move.
Yeah, okay.
I hate to be Mr. Biology here, but snakes don't need water to move.
No, I know that. I'm
This
saying...
man's just on a slip and slide going through.
No, my question was just if it was like I thought we were sitting in like ankle deep water.
Nah,
I'm
nah,
like,
nah.
that's a small
This is
snake.
pretty- with that, however, as it dives, I would say, Loral, you feel something wrap around your ankle and pull you under, and you just, as you splash underneath the water, you are being yanked in the direction in which it came at a rapid speed.
Yummy.
As this happens, as you're all kind of left in this space, we're going to end tonight's episode and pick up next time. So thank you all for joining us here tonight for another episode of Hit Dice, our tabletop role-playing podcast. For those who want to listen to our previous shows, Alex, where can they find us?
Absolutely. Anywhere you could possibly imagine. We got SoundCloud. We got Spotify. We got the Apple one. We got the Google
Stitcher.
one. So we got Stitcher. We got everything you could possibly want. You can also find us on the official Hit Dice YouTube channel.
We have a YouTube channel.
We got a YouTube channel.
YouTube channel. What is the name of that channel?
YouTube.com/@HitDiceShow is where you can find it. It's called Hit Dice, but that's where you can find
Is
it
there,
at.
is there a hyphen in Hit Dice?
There is not a hyphen in Hit Dice. It is just the @ sign
aren't we great at this?
HITDICESHOW.
Yeah, aren't we kind of great at this whole plugging thing?
We're so good.
Thank you all.
So smooth. All that.
Thank you all for joining us here today at the table. I want to thank you all, and I want to thank all listeners who may or may not be out there. But with that,
They're out there.
until
I
next
checked
time.
the stats from the last episode. It was 1.6 million.
Confirmed.
Stephen in Vermont. Here we go.
Absolutely.
Well, regardless, thank you all again. And until we roll again, have a good night.